So it's been about a week since NFL free agency started, and the Philadelphia Eagles, despite not making very many new additions to their team, have actually been pretty active during the free agency market. They've made a variety of moves, whether that's bringing players that they already had on their team back on smaller deals, or restructuring contracts, or even signing some bigger names to their team. They've definitely improved over the course of this past week. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing the Eagles' free agency moves over this first week, and then potentially previewing some additional moves that the Birds could make during this next week and moving forward in this free agency. So the first move that the Eagles made was probably the biggest one of them all, which was signing linebacker and pass rusher Haason Reddick to a 3-year, $45 million deal. They did that on the very first day of free agency, and I already made a video talking about this, but in that video I said this was a great signing. The Eagles' pass rush is now going to be very scary with him having the 5th most sacks over the past 2 years in the entire NFL at 23.5, and he had 11 last year with the Panthers and 12.5 the year before with the Cardinals. He's been an incredible pass rusher, and look for the Eagles to utilize him more just coming off the edge, and maybe even dropping back into coverage sometimes, as Jonathan Gannon did say he wanted to run a more hybrid style of defense, and he's definitely a versatile enough linebacker that he will be able to do that. But his definite strength is rushing the passer, and adding him to a defensive front that already has players like Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Josh Sweat, Javon Hargrave, that just makes them an even scarier pass rush. And I think that the Eagles' main goal moving into this offseason was to shore up that pass rush, as they didn't get very much QB pressure last season, and that was one of their main problems on defense. So that was a great signing, and probably the biggest move they made so far. The next move was really interesting. So Howie Roseman decided that, there was all these trade talks and speculation involving one of the best Eagles players of all time, in my opinion, Fletcher Cox. He's won a Super Bowl with the team. He's made a ton of Pro Bowls, All-Pros, whatever. He's been a great player for this Philadelphia team for a long time. And there was a lot of trade speculation. He's getting up there in age, and he was getting paid a lot of money. So what Howie Roseman did, Howie Roseman ended up cutting Fletcher Cox, only to then, it was found out very shortly, right after the cut, that they were trying to renegotiate and bring him back on a 1-year deal, and that's exactly what they did. They got that done. They got Fletcher Cox back on a 1-year, $14 million deal, which I think was a really good move. Again, making that defensive line, continuing to make that defensive line one of the best in the NFL. Fletcher Cox still definitely can play, and if he ends up declining in play this season, he'll become a free agent. Honestly, it was just a really smart move in a bunch of different facets. Now, the next move that they made was re-signing a player that I think underwhelmed a lot of Eagles fans last season, but he was a quality player and a very serviceable veteran on this Philadelphia Eagles defense, which was Anthony Harris. He didn't really make any plays last year that jumped off your screen, but at the same time, he was a quality player, serviceable player, and you can't have an incredible, great player at every single position, and the Eagles were in need of some safety help anyway, so they needed to bring him back, so they re-signed him to a 1-year deal, and I think it was a good move. Again, they needed safety. I think they might still be looking to add another safety moving forward into the offseason, and I'm going to be talking about that later in this video, but just for now, Anthony Harris, quality player, good to re-sign him for a 1-year deal. And they did another similar thing with another former Eagle. They brought Boston Scott back on a 1-year deal, one part of the best rushing attack in football last year of the Philadelphia Eagles. Boston Scott, the giant killer, is back on a 1-year deal. Again, I think this is a good move. This happened about right after the Anthony Harris re-signing, and I think it's a great move because Boston Scott has been, it's a cheap deal. He's been with the team for a long time. He's had some success, especially against the New York Giants. He's always done that in his career. Best game of his career come against them, scoring 3 touchdowns. But yeah, Boston Scott bringing him back. We definitely needed some more running back depth. With Jordan Howard potentially leaving, we still have yet to see if we're going to re-sign him yet. But good thing to get another running back in the locker room, Boston Scott. And a lot of the moves that he's been making is just continuing the continuity of this Philadelphia Eagles team, which is important to help a team keep growing and building as they move forward, because these players are all familiar with each other and they're getting more familiar with the coaching system so far, and I think it's just important for these players to all stay together and keep moving forward. Not saying you need to re-sign everybody, but I think that the moves that they made were good and justifiable ones. Now we get into predictions for what might happen in the future, or speculation. So I still think that the Eagles might need to go after a wide receiver. They've apparently been outbidded on several big name wide receivers. I'm sure the most prominent one that you guys might be thinking of would be Allen Robinson, who ended up signing with the Los Angeles Rams. The Eagles were definitely in the mix for him, and I think it's, unfortunate that he didn't end up signing with the Eagles, because I think he could have been a great addition to this team. And then another guy like Juju Smith-Schuster went and played for the Chiefs. I don't know how interested the Eagles were in him. There were so many reports saying that they were really interested in him, but then there was reports pulling that back a little bit and like, hey, they weren't that interested in Juju Smith-Schuster. They weren't interested in him. Well, they've moved on. But regardless, they've been outbidded for some of these big name receivers. Another one's Christian Kirk. He was a guy that ended up going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He got tons of money thrown at him, and he's a good receiver. I think he definitely got overpaid going to Jacksonville, but he's a good receiver, and they definitely probably were interested in him as well, and they got outbidded. So now the Eagles did end up re-signing Greg Ward Jr. to a one-year deal, which is one of the other small moves that they did make. But we all know that that's not the only move that they need to make to help shore up this wide receiver position. Look for them to continue to try to add receiver help. There's still a couple trades out there for some guys that could be serviceable, and there's still the draft. We got 3 first-round picks. We got plenty of picks, in the early rounds of this upcoming draft. So look for the Eagles to continue to try to add help in the wide receiver perspective. But then this is the big one that I want to talk about, because there's been some rumors, and now the Eagles have restructured Darius Slay's contract, which has opened up $11.9 more million in cap space. So could that mean that another big move is coming? I think there's potentially something going on that maybe we don't know about yet, but it's been coming to light over the past few days very slowly. So yesterday there was a tweet, I can't remember who it was from, but they were talking about the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. So is that a potential thing that could happen? Is that a move that Howie's gearing up to make? I don't know. And then there's tweets coming out from Eagles players, Sean Bradley specifically. It was Sean Bradley and one other player, I can't remember who it was, but they're saying, hey, Honey Badger, you coming to Philly? Like, they're out here kind of trying to recruit him. I don't know, man. There hasn't been very many, big name people reporting that I've seen yet, but the Eagles do need some help in that secondary. I think he'd be a good fit. I mean, the man is one of the better safeties in all of football, and I think it's a potential that he could become a Philadelphia Eagle within the next few days or weeks, depending on what happens. And there's still plenty of other guys out there on the free agent market. Plenty of big names still left. So let's see what the Eagles do in these next couple of weeks. That's pretty much all I got for this video. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Who do you guys think the Eagles are going to sign moving forward in free agency? If you did enjoy this video and you want to see more, subscribe for more videos just like this covering the Eagles and the Sixers, and like the video to help push it out to other people. With all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this video. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.